Welcome back, my awesome curious people. Martina from Argentina as always, or should I say, welcome back future sailors. Last time we discussed how to apply on cruise ships, and today I wanted to take a little bit of time to discuss which one is the best option for you. It might depend on what kind of job you're looking for, what country you're located in, and different needs. So let's look at how the process goes for each of these options. If you haven't watched the previous video, I recommend you go watch it over here, and also you can check out the whole playlist. In most of the cases, you have the chance to apply in more than one way, and there's nothing to lose, honestly. But let's see what is the best choice for you, and sometimes what is the only choice for you. Let's start with the most simple way, applying directly with the cruise line. That, of course, is the more straightforward option, either with an email or signing up to their webpage, as we've seen on the previous video, and they will be able to contact you directly and have your interviews with you directly. One of the first positive things of applying directly with the cruise line is that the interviews will be directly with them, so there are going to be less interviews. But one downside of this is because they have so many applicants that sometimes it can take a long time to contact you because they have to go through all the applicants. Another good thing of applying directly with the cruise line is that they might place you in a different position that you didn't think about just because of your profile. They might see that you fit somewhere else and they can consider you for there as well. So there's more flexibility and options for you. Perhaps another downside for those that are not so comfortable with English is that all interviews will probably with a native English speaker, so the level of English might be a little bit higher. Of course, someone will be helping you out through all the process, but it's gonna be over email and perhaps not so personal. And I'm gonna compare this to the experience of applying with a local recruiter. Of course, applying with a local recruiter means that the resources will be near you, and you will be more comfortable speaking with people from your area, probably in your language. If there's an active search for a position, you will definitely be contacted sooner, and the process will start a lot sooner with interviews that will be, as I said, with probably native speakers of your language, so their accent is going to be the same as yours, you might be less uncomfortable, and they might be a little bit more forgiving with your English level. Once they start selecting candidates, you will have a fast track to be pointed out directly for the cruise line to consider you. They're going to offer you as an approved candidate that has already been through a first phase of screening. So for that position that is currently open, you might have a faster way into the cruise line. But as I said, it's usually very specific openings that they are looking for. So that might narrow down your chances. Sometimes it's nice to see the person face to face on a physical meeting in your area instead of always having to do everything online. You get to meet other applicants there. Usually it's a meeting in a hotel, and they will give you some talks about ship life and how to be ready. They might also give you a little bit of trainings and exercises to pass other interviews and to start getting ready for your position. But please remember to watch my other video about scams and costs that are not true, that some recruiters sometimes try to pass on to you. They can offer you courses, English courses, and different kinds of preparations and help with your paperwork, but please be very sure of what you need to pay for and what you accept to pay for. Remember, recruiters get paid to screen applicants because, as I said before, cruise lines have a lot of applicants that they cannot handle at once, and they get paid to select candidates. So all their services are free to you. You don't have to pay anything for them to consider you or for any of the things that they do. Some recruiters will ask you to have all the paperwork that you might need. So there's different cruise lines that ask for more specific medical forms or for more paperwork to be done before you board. Others offer you to make some of the trainings on board, like the safety trainings. And sometimes recruiters just want to make sure that you're going to be the right fit for any cruise line that might need you, so they ask you to do all the medicals and all the trainings just in case. But sometimes, sadly, this can be over $50 expenses or will take you more time to get ready, so have a chat with your recruiter. If you want to go to one specific cruise line, tell them you don't want to do any extra paperwork and just be informed. As well, another downside of recruiters is that sometimes they can be too harsh on their decisions. They might choose to not hire you because you have a tattoo or your medical certificates are just a little bit off, just because they want to make sure you're 110% ready to go and no one on board will have any problems with you. and sometimes the cruise lines themselves don't have any problem with that. Sometimes they just ask you to be sure to place you in the right cruise line because some will accept you like that and some won't, but sometimes they just want to make sure that you'll fit everywhere and no one will have a problem with you. So just check as well, and if you're denied, ask them why, and always consider going straight with the cruise line. Again, it's really nice to have someone helping you, especially if you know that they are a native in your language, that they can explain a lot of things to you and answer all your doubts straight away. But be careful because sometimes they are human as well and they can make mistakes, and they will be handling on your paperwork and they will be the link between you and the cruise line. So just double check with them that all the paperwork that they fill out for you is correct. Just be sure to be paying attention because this is your process and it's your future job. As well, if you watch my previous video and you know all the ways to apply, you can be a little bit more savvy about the process, because I've heard a lot of cruise lines that will offer you a job and they will set up for you the account that I showed in the previous video that you can sign up to apply with a cruise line, and you will receive an email from the cruise line that you have started your process with them, and you will be thrilled and ecstatic and you will thank the recruiter, but actually it's something you can do by yourself. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's good for them to do it, but you could do it yourself perfectly well and have control of your process. Finally, let's talk about hiring partners. Most of the time, these type of recruiters hire workers that do a very specific job that the cruise line doesn't take care of directly, like casino dealers and photographers, spa workers, gym personal trainers, sometimes doctors, entertainers, sales associates, and all sorts of positions. So if you want to apply to one of these specific positions that only this hiring partner takes care of course you're going to have to apply with them. You will be able to check out in the website of each hiring partner. They will show what cruise lines they work. These are called concessions because they run a business inside of another business on board the cruise ships. But nonetheless, you will become a worker of that cruise line. You will just have someone else perhaps to report to on land. But on board, you're gonna be like any other crew member. So what you can do is go check out in their websites. They will have a list of the cruise lines they work with, so you can apply with the concession that works with the cruise line that you might be interested to work at. And you can probably request them to give you a position in that cruise line as well. So as I said, a lot of the cases, it's not a choice for you to choose if you want to go with a concession hiring partner, because that's the job you want to do and that's the only way. They are the only ones handling it. But just check, because there's some cruise lines that concession certain jobs that other cruise lines have integrated with their business. For example, Royal Caribbean, when I first started being a photographer, their photographers were part of a concession from the image group, and now Royal Caribbean has absorbed all its photographers to be in-house employees. So it's not always written in stone, because it deserves to be considered that usually concessionaire jobs have lower salaries, and usually the process can be a little bit more complicated because again you have to go through more hoops, because you're going to be working for one company that is going to place you in another company, so sometimes there could be more steps involved in your hiring process. Again, this hiring partner, especially I heard a lot of the art auctioneers, change their employees from cruise line to cruise line quite often. I suppose that's something you can talk with your recruiters as well, but consider that's a possibility that you might be changing companies. For some, it might be great to have new experiences, but maybe for other people, it might be worse to be constantly being taken off your comfort zone and having to perhaps fit to different kinds of uniforms and rules and stuff like that. So it's just a point to consider. Just for you to have another point of view, I'm going to tell you very quickly my personal experience, which was quite particular, and perhaps you can learn something from it. My experience was a little bit weird because I was hired by a local recruiter, but I was hired for a concession. So then that concession placed me on one of the cruise lines. So you could say there was a lot of steps and a lot of layers to my hiring process. But honestly, I didn't even feel it because I didn't know a lot about the process, and they really helped me out. I think one of the best things that happened to me is that this offer was published on a local site where I picked up the ad, and it felt like it was really close to me. So I applied and I was straight away contacted, and the first part of the process happened really quickly, and I think it really helped me, considering I didn't know anything about cruise ships in general, being able to meet with the other candidates in a hotel here right at my home, and be able to talk face to face with all our recruiters and hear them talk and explain about ship life and the process, and having all those practices about how the job was going to be on board. It was great. I was only 22 years old. I had no idea about working for a big company because it was honestly my first serious job. So But I want to say it was really helpful, and I felt always very personally in touch with my recruiter that would always reach out to me and answer all of my questions. They know we don't know anything and that we're nervous and that we have a lot of doubts, and they were very accommodating with the process. I took quite a couple of months to be ready, but one of the things I mentioned before that really affected me is that they wanted my medical to be perfectly on the spot, with not one number of my blood test going over the limits. Even if I had a doctor's note that said that everything was fine, they wanted to make sure, and they made me retake this exam multiple times until the numbers were perfect. So that stressed me out a little bit, but in the end it was fine. And as well, I was a little bit worried that they would place me in a cruise line that I didn't like very much, that it worked with, but I was lucky that they placed me in the one I wanted. But I suppose if not, I could have asked to be placed on that one anyways. But honestly, now on the other side, I feel it's a little bit scary that they don't share with you a lot of information. In my case, I expressed that I was a videographer and they were hiring for photographers, and they did say that in that company that they were recruiting me for, the photographer company, that in the future I could apply to be a videographer in another cruise line. But I would have appreciated if they would have told me that Royal Caribbean had a position for videographers that I could also apply to, because honestly that's what I always studied for and it's what I'm doing now, and I wish I knew before instead of going in as a photographer. That was not really my kind of job. But anyways, I had an amazing experience and everything was great, and I wouldn't change anything that happened. Once I was on board and I had a little bit of an issue one time with some managers, I realized that there's a lot more steps in getting these to higher places in the hierarchy. If you want to report a problem on board, you only have your managers, and no one on board really is the direct boss of them because they're not from the cruise line. So sometimes you have to reach out to more people on land, and it's kind of hard to find out who is responsible for what than when you're straight in the cruise line. But don't worry, there's always going to be someone to look out for you. So anyways, that was it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Give me a big thumbs up, it really helps. And of course, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will be notified of all my newest videos. And as always, stay curious. Ciao, ciao!